Obviously, Aaron Glenn's history with the Jets, well documented. A former first-round pick, started his career here, played 8 seasons, had 24 career interceptions. Then he came back as a scout in 2012 and 2013. Now he's the 22nd head coach in franchise history. Recently, a number of AG's former teammates came out to watch a practice, and I had an opportunity to talk with James Hasty, Ray Mickens, and Victor Green following practice. That's coming up.
We beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
It's picked off. Aaron Glenn. Jumbled and caught. Jumbo Elliott. One-handed catch. Chris Martin gets running loose. Reeves can't wait.
Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Personalize your game day look by shopping spirited styles and so much more at your local Kendra Scott store or kendrascott.com, where team spirit meets personal style. All right, this is awesome. We got elite secondary players everywhere, and then myself. James, what was your reaction when you heard that Aaron Glenn was named head coach of the New York Jets?
Man, excitement. Finally, we have one of us in the building that understands what culture means. Everybody uses that buzzword, but finally we as former players, and I'm sure as many fans know, that culture is a real thing, and Aaron Glenn is about as real as it gets.
Vic.
I mean, I was very excited. James saw me on social media. I was really rooting for him and lobbying for him. So when he got the head coaching job, it was just, it was great to hear. I mean, AG and I, we roomies on the road for 6 years, I guess, So we talked a lot, and when he got the head coaching job, I called him right away, very excited for him. So.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. I think when it was made official, I got goosebumps. Just thinking back at what it took for him to get to where he's at, going through scouting and going from a couple of different teams. The fact that he made it to, I think, the pinnacle, what he set out to be as a head coach in the NFL, it was amazing. I felt like, that he achieved again things that he's achieved as a player. Now he's achieving it as a coach.
I mean, I talked to AG, when he started getting, this is before he started getting interviews for head coach. He was in Detroit. Right. And before that, he was in New Orleans at the time. And I talked to him. And at that point, I didn't think he was head coaching material. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but just the conversation that I had with him, and that was the direction he wanted to go. Talking to him in Detroit, he was a whole new, his conversations and everything just switched. I was like, this guy's ready.
Yeah.
So that's when I started seeing him getting these interviews with different teams. I said, eventually, AG is going to be a head coach somewhere.
Jeez, 1994, though.
Yeah.
You're a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
One of the better bump and run cornerbacks in the National Football League, and here comes a guy who was drafted 14th overall out of Texas A&M.
Held his own. I mean, I think I played with a different corner every year. I was telling Mick about this on the way up here. It's like, man, every year I had a different corner, and that actually impacts your career as a corner, how the guy on the other side does. And when Aaron Glenn finally came in and took over that left cornerback spot, man, it meant the world to me. But then just touching on a little bit about what Vic said, I reached out to the Jets in October last year. And I said, man, I played 14 years in the National Football League, and people don't recognize me as a former Jet. And that bothers me, right? And I said, I want this organization to be, at the pinnacle finally, right? And so naturally, as things went on, AG had the opportunity to go to New England. And he turned it down. He turned the interview down. And that's when I picked up the phone and I said, I really believe that Aaron Glenn should be the next head coach for the New York Jets. Now, whatever happened and whatever transpired, I'm not sure behind the scenes, but for me, that was one of my proudest moments as a former teammate of Aaron Glenn's to say, hey, man, I'm proud of this guy, and I really believe he deserves to be the next head coach.
New York Jets mini plans are on sale now. Lock in the same great seats for 4 matchups at MetLife Stadium. Plus, receive exciting benefits. Packages start at $156 per seat. Buy now at nyjets.com/miniplans. James was talking about establishing a culture. How does one go about that, and how do you anticipate Aaron doing it here?
Well, Parcells did it, and Parcells is his mentor. And when Parcells came in from day one, he established a culture. This is the way we're gonna be. This is the things that we're gonna do. This is my team. You can get in or get out, and that's how you establish it. And I think that's what AG is doing with his football team. He got to reconstruct this whole organization, right? Because we've been bad for a long time now. Again, no disrespect, but it is what it is. And AG from day one came in and inserted himself as this is who we're going to be. And you can see it after practice, the way he took control of that huddle and told them, hey, guys, it ain't good enough.
Yeah.
So that's how you build a culture.
No, yeah, you're right. You can't worry about other people's feelings. And I know that Parcells and Belichick didn't, and so when they came in, they changed the culture. Like he said out there in practice, we were 1-15, and then we come back to a couple years later, we're 13-3, we're 12-4, whatever that was. But it was just all about going in there, basically, not worrying about who you offend, and getting the best out of everybody, including the coaches, the trainers. Everybody, nobody's off limits when you're trying to change your culture. And the NFL, not for long, you got to win, and everybody's expecting results. Everybody's expecting results next year.
Every day.
So you don't have time to feel sorry for somebody else right now.
Yeah, but let's set expectations also, right?
Yeah.
Let's not, because I'm a former player, and so I can see what's going on out there on the field, as we all can. And we know that this is not going to be a turnaround overnight, right? And we understand that Aaron Glenn's going to establish his own culture beside Bill Parcells and the Belichick ways and all of those sorts of things. Aaron Glenn has to establish his own culture, and that's going to start with hard work, right? But we also have to set our expectations and not expect him to do this overnight. And if we do that, I think in the end, we'll see some positive.
I think AG is he's setting his, he's different from Parcells. Parcells was a mental guy, right? He wasn't like as vocal like AG are, right? He was more of, like Terry Glenn, look at she's gonna practice today. He was getting into your feelings, right? AG is gonna get into here. You know what I'm saying? Their hearts. And if he can get there, get these guys to play on one accord, that's what's gonna separate AG, because they haven't been here in years. And I think talking to people like yourself and around this building, different coaches have come through here over the last couple of years. They haven't seen it since Rex Ryan. So Rex has some success here. Hopefully we can get it with AG.
Yeah. And this is New York too.
Right.
You got to be built for this. You got to be built for this city. You got to be built for this program. It's a different type of build, mentally and physically. And I know that you saw it out there, competitive, a lot of competitive periods out there, whether it was one-on-one, whether it was team, a lot of competitiveness out there. That's what you see in championship teams in practice. I remember visiting them up in Detroit when he was in Detroit with Dan Campbell, and the practices were intense.
Yeah.
Then the next week I came down here to the Legends event, and I saw practice, and I think it was the grass was a little wet, so that we stopped or something like that. And I just remembered it was just a different type of feel. It was a different culture, and I think that that's what he's trying to set. And like I said earlier, he's not going to be worried about who he offends. All right. He needs to turn that culture. And he doesn't like, okay, I got 5 years to do it. That's not New York. I'm just being honest. It could be it could be Indianapolis, or it could be, Jacksonville, some other small market. But this is New York. This is New York. We're expecting a winner, and that's what it is. And I know that it requires a different type of player too. And we know that it takes time to get your guys. Parcells, it took him a while to get his guys in here. It took him 2 years to get his guys, and he's got to get.
And to your point, man, the fans, they're ready now.
Right.
I mean, we saying, it may take a year or two, right? But the fans are ready to win now. The owner is ready to win now, right? So he got to get this team behind him, and I think he's doing a great job of that. But like Ray was talking earlier, they 0-0 right now. He's undefeated.
Yeah.
Right, but we got a first game with Friday. All right, is it
That's
Friday?
preseason game.
It's a Saturday night.
Saturday night, Green Bay.
Yeah, we trying to win.
Yeah,
We're trying to win. Hey, if we weren't trying to win, they would cut off the scoreboard, right?
play to win the game.
There you go.
So,
Go back to Herm.
Yeah, so it's gonna be exciting. I think that's gonna be the first test of what we all see. Be a good glimpse of what this season is gonna become.
You mentioned the word culture, and I know that's used plenty out there. But you, as a former player who played it a long time, you guys who are out there in between the white lines, what does that mean to you?
Being real.
Yeah.
Like, man, if you could have heard him talk to these guys today, none of the guys, you can look in their eyes and tell that they thought that this guy was fake, right? It's just about being real. When you can relate to what these guys are going through, which we saw a lot of tackling today, right? You get in those situations, right? You got that 2.5 yard distance from that running back. You got to make that play. You got to take the correct angle. It's the attention to details that he's been preaching. And now we get to see it come out on Saturday, right? So now I'm all excited to see what he does.
Yeah.
Do you like how the roster is constructed? Because they said, we're not going to be afraid of playing young players. And you only got a handful of guys right now over 30 years old.
Right. And this is a young football team, and that's going to set the precedence too, right? It's like, you need veterans. So he got his hands full with going out there trying to win with a bunch of guys that don't understand the culture, if you will. But you can win with them. I mean, you look at the Washington quarterback, James Daniel last year. So you can win with the guys, but they got to be coached and they got to be fundamentally sound. What AG was talking about today. They gotta be fundamentally sound.
Well, you said it. Like it also goes down to the position coaches,
right? Yeah.
The head coach, he's gonna supervise and do all those things, but the attention to detail needs to come in that room with those assistant coaches that are in that room each and every day with those guys, right, man?
Nobody's off limits.
Yeah.
Nobody's off limits. Right. Everybody's held accountable. You talk about the definition of culture is being accountable. Everyone being accountable. Doing what you say you're going to do. Being who you say you're going to be. You could talk about it, but you have to be about it. And that's what culture is. Respecting everybody in the locker room, knowing that everybody is contributing, regardless of who you are on the team. If you're on the team, you're contributing to a win, you're held accountable for being ready for the game, for your teammates.
I think
even the trainers, even the equipment managers. I mean, even the media people. You have to be accountable for what you do. Everybody is a part of the culture when you talk about winning. Period.
It's something as simple as like when you turn the film on, and you took a bad angle.
Right.
Be accountable and say, hey man, that's on me.
On me.
That's not on my safety.
Right.
That's on me. I need to make that play. That's about being accountable.
But a lot of these young guys, they turn around, hey man,
yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. But just as what you were saying, accountability, like Belichick favorite, do your job. Do your job. And AG was out there and he holding the coaches accountable too. He said, hey, coaches too. Right. So he's putting them on blast, like, hey, you got to do your job, guys. And so, as Ray was saying, nobody's off limit with this guy. From this whole building, everybody got to be accountable, and I think AG is the guy to hold him to that.
So I want to talk about current roster, but let's go back to '94. What do you remember about Aaron Glenn as a rookie coming out?
Man, incredible athlete. Just wanted to know who he was going to cover. Don't give him too much to think about. He was like, Coach, I don't want to do all that stuff that Hasey's doing. Just tell me who I got, right? And just an outstanding person, an outstanding athlete. Very honest, very accountable when we were out there. Didn't try to skirt responsibilities when he made a mistake. Just refreshing young man to play with, and a teammate of mine that to this day, if he needs me, man, I'm here because I knew how he played the game was the right way.
But you guys stayed in touch.
Oh, absolutely.
This is 31 years later, and you only played one season
absolutely.
together.
I will go to the end of this earth, man, on Aaron Glenn's behalf, because I know more importantly than anything, yeah, he was a first-round pick, but he still busted his butt, right? He still earned everything he got, right? He made the Pro Bowl. He did all these great things athletically. But then what does he do? He goes into scouting. A lot of these guys expect to become position coaches, right, after they play in the league. He goes into scouting, man. So that humility showed me, man, this guy's really ready to put in that work. And why not him? If no one else, I mean, if anyone, why not him?
That, as a head coach, man, you got to understand the whole building, right? And going into scouting, you know how to read players, to evaluate, right? You know how to look at what players you want, and I think by doing that and becoming an assistant DB coach, et cetera, he's learned all that, and he's mastered all that in terms of what he's looking for in players now or in coaches, and I think he brought these coaches here. I'm just talking coaches that he know he can lead. That's going to follow him instead of him picking a bunch of coaches that was here. He got guys that are going to be on his court and they're going to do and they're going to coach the way he wanted to coach.
Yeah. What I remember about Aaron Glenn, when he was Aaron Glenn, back at Texas A&M when we were in college, and what I developed from him was when he came in, he was Aaron Glenn one day after one practice. He was AG. Everything that everybody talked about, he went out there and practiced, and literally in one day, well, it was 2 days, so it was 2 practices. He showed everybody what he was about. Through the course of my years at A&M with him, I realized and I took the mentality that he had. It seemed like he had no other option. It was like he was gonna make it to the NFL. It's like, those sayings, man, when you don't have a safety net, and you don't have training wheels on your bike, or actually the ship that lands on shore and they burn the ship.
Burn the boats.
Burn the boats. That's the feeling, the mentality that he had, and it kind of infected me as a player that played next to him. Like, yo, we ain't got no other option now. This is what we got to do. This is what we do. Ain't no turning back. Ain't no, okay, I could do this if it just doesn't work out. And so that mentality breeds you to work out, breeds you to train, breeds you to watch film. I can't swim right now, but I guess what? If you told me you're gonna drop me off in the ocean next week, I'm gonna learn how to swim in 2 days, right? Because I have no other option, right? So that's the mentality.
You can't even dog pedal?
Man, I'm gonna find a way to survive.
Right.
But my point is that was our mindset back then, and it came to the NFL, and God had it that I got drafted here with the Jets with him again, and you kind of seen it here too as well. So he's always had that type of mindset when he set his mind to it, that he was gonna get it done, and seeing that he's a head coach.
You were undrafted.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say that you were an overachiever. But with that being said, you mentioned that you were roommates with Aaron.
Yeah, on the road. Yeah.
What was he like as a guy when maybe the night before the game as you guys?
Well, AG, on the road, I mean, we did our, the meetings. After that, he did his Bible study. We was in the room, we did a Bible study, we did the cold tubs, not together, of course. But he would just, I'm gonna make sure I made that clear. But no, AG was just all about business, man. We talked all, once we got done with everything, but he was always about business. He's always trying to get it right. We always got the tests, right? So we going over our tests that the DB coach give us every week to do, and we'll make sure we're on the same page with that. But he always wanted to be the best. And, going back to his rookie year, I was in my second year at the time, I knew AG was going to be a player. I mean, that dude was quick as a cat. He, great man-to-man cover. And he was just a phenomenal athlete, man. And I just knew he was going to be one of the best players. And, look at him now.
Ray, when you were drafted in the 3rd round and you found out it was the Jets, what was the feeling like that, hey, this guy's going to be your teammate again?
Yeah. There was a lot of emotions on draft day, first of all, before that. But after everything settled down and I knew I was going to be a New York Jet, that was surreal. I knew that there was going to be somebody in that locker room that I could trust. As a rookie, you just want to know who you can trust. You don't know. You hear stories about you can't trust nobody. You after their job, X, Y, and Z. But no, I knew somebody. It was somebody that I could trust, and somebody that was familiar with. And when I got here, what I realized is that the whole defensive back, that whole group, man, it was people that made me feel comfortable as a rookie, and then the fact that Aaron Glenn was an all-pro, he was one of the best in the league. So you didn't have to go too far to see what you need to do to be a pro and be successful in the league as a corner.
Jets game day is better together. Bring a group of 6 or more to MetLife Stadium and take advantage of preferred pricing, access to on-field experiences, and more. To book, visit nyjets.com/groups or call 973-549-4590. James, when Aaron's getting in front of the podium, or he said he also talked to the team about this on Saturday. He said, just hit him the other day. He heard the Jets chant. It was a green and white practice.
I saw that.
And he was clearly so emotional. When you're watching that, how unique is this situation considering that this is 31 years later? This guy was a star player here. It wasn't a good player. He was a star player. 41 career interceptions. I think he's tied with you, 24 interceptions with the Jets. But like you guys have said too, he took the long road, decides he's going to be a scout, 2012, 2013. Then he's assistant coach starting with the Browns. Then he goes under Sean Payton with the Saints. Then finally the last 4 years with the Lions. But when he talks that way, how much does it resonate with you?
It's just the kind of person that I knew him to be. Very humble, very a guy that never tried to find the limelight, right? Someone that's incredibly athletic, a superstar in this league, as we all know, for a long time. But to still hear that humility that he has, that he doesn't hold himself higher than anyone else, it's the AG that I know. And it's always refreshing to know that people like him are still well-grounded, right? And particularly when you're leading an organization like the New York Jets and the history that this organization has. And it's just great to see, man. It's really a breath of fresh air to see him being real. It's all get out.
Well, he didn't take the easy road.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you were saying, most of them just want to go to the top right now. And you see that in a lot of these young players come out of college. Hey, I'm a star. You know, I'm a starter. Right? But you got to go through the growing pains. I think that's what AG did. And that's why he's in a position here today, because he went the long road. He understood and understands what it is and what it took for him to get here. And, you know, he's not going to be worrying about anybody feeling like Ray said.
Yeah, I saw, I mean, literally from when you talk about scouts, I remember when he was living in Houston. I said this story just a minute ago.
Yeah, I heard that.
You know, he was living in Houston. He was like, yo, Mick, I'm coming through Dallas. I'm stop by your house. He comes by my house driving up through Dallas, Ford Explorer. I never forget that. He comes by, you know, showing him my house, and he's just like, yeah, I'm heading up, because he was a scout for the Jets at the time. He's like, he's heading up to Kansas and then Iowa to go scout some players, man, and do reports on them. And he was showing me, you know, what he's doing now and what type of reports he puts together. And I'm like, damn, I said, that's a lot. It was something that I was like, man, that takes a lot to do all that. Thousands of miles on the road like that, and then going back down to Houston and then flying back up here. And I remember that. So when I see him on the field and I see him as a head coach on the field, I just remember him stopping by my house as a scout.
And scouting ain't easy. I was in-house scout with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I didn't have to go on the road. I went on the road a few times to scout, but that's a hard job, man. And again, going back to what I said earlier a few minutes ago, is that he did it the hard way. He learned how to understand the game, and this is the results of it.
How much do you think that process in Detroit is going to help him under Dan Campbell? Because he continues to emphasize the fact that, hey, Dan gave me a lot of responsibilities here, because he saw it in him that he was going to be a head coach someday. Right. But also, hey, listen, when they took over in Detroit, it wasn't immediate success. They had to stick with it.
Yeah, look, we have a firm, a tech firm, and we track coaches' careers. And when you watched AG go into scouting, then he became assistant DB coach with the Browns. Then he went from the Browns to the Saints, and then he went to Detroit. When he got to Detroit, he had adversity. Yeah. He didn't have a whole bunch of players there to work with, right? So some of the key players were going down, right, and things that, as far as his injuries and whatnot. And he still was able to manufacture the output that he had with the defense. And so I think what you can expect with Aaron Glenn is he can find a way to win a football game. You know, he doesn't need to have, the cover doesn't always need to be full with him. Give him some key pieces. Guys may go down, but watch how he responds to that adversity. That's going to be the key when it comes to Aaron Glenn and coaching in New York.
That's what he was talking about today. Guys miss a play and You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, my bad. Like we just said, I take responsibility. Hey, my bad, coach. I get the next one, and that's what responsibility is. That's taking ownership. And AG gonna hold these guys accountable, man. And that's why I think just watching him out there, watching the guys as practice, how he go about things, man. This is a different football team than it was last few years. And that alone, as these guys both know, you can win 1 or 2 games by coaching alone.
Right.
During the season.
Absolutely.
And I think they can win a few games just by coaching in this league.
He is his own man. So, but there is a clear Parcells influence. Is that the way you guys felt under Parcells, that, hey, listen, there are times where he's going to get us over the top. We know we're going to be in position to make those plays, and we're going to be confident to make those plays because this guy's put the study in.
Yeah.
And now we know the answers to the test.
Yeah. Well, one thing is for sure is that we were going to be ready. We were going to be prepared. And that's one thing that I know that this team will be prepared on game day. You know, people go down all the time, and it's next man up. We hear that all the time. But that next man up has to be prepared. And he did a great job. He did a great job of that in Detroit. I remember when Aiden Hutchinson went down, he's going to be a future MVP, the defensive MVP of the league one day. He's special. They lose him, right? They could, the whole defense have been like, man, okay, man, we just got to depend on the offense from here on out. Nah, they found a way to get better. They got even better, and they rallied around that. It's just the next man up, making sure that everybody's prepared and coaching everybody like they're going to have to contribute.
It was a mash unit last year at the end of the season for the Lions, and they just kept pushing along. He never made any excuses, and you wouldn't expect him to. When you're watching practice as a whole, obviously you got the emotional tie with Aaron, but what are you looking for from the players as far as the roster is concerned? What are you watching?
I mean, you're going to see bad execution, right? But how do you respond to that poor execution? Are you going to drop your head? What's your body language like? I want to see how you respond to adversity, right? And when things go wrong. And essentially, I think that's what Aaron's essentially trying to hone in on is, look, man, it's the next play, right? There's attention to detail during that particular play. Okay, there's some poor execution, but now how do you respond? And let's get back to the next play and focus on detail. And I think that's going to be the difference between what they did last year and going forward.
The way these guys practice, man, it's way different than it was before. I mean, the guys are really out there competing now. They know that they got a new head coach, a new general manager. You know, you may not make the team, right? So, you know, especially free agent guys, young guys right now, you got to show up every single day, every play. You make a mistake, own it, and move on. Right, you can't get there and not be timid. Right, you just gotta go keep making plays, keep being aggressive. If they can play that, they gonna make some plays. Right, so that's what this team gonna do.
What I was looking for out there were competitors. You know, guys that wanted to compete. I think if you throw all of the 4.2s and the 4.3s, all that don't mean nothing. Your combine measurables, the 44-inch verticals, the 48 reps on the bench press, all that don't mean nothing when you get on that field out there. You're looking for competitors. If there was a way that I can measure the competitor in you, then I can give you a championship football team. Garrett Wilson, I know he's an ultimate competitor. I've seen him since he was in high school, middle school, 7-on-7 games, competing out there football. When he was in the Armand St. Brown, the receiver in Detroit, that guy, when he was in high school, all the way to the league, he's just a competitor. He's not 6'5". I don't know if he runs a 4.3, but I know he's a football player. You know, that's what you're looking for. Parcells, you say that all the time. I want football players. I want football players. You can only measure that when you get out on the football field. You can't measure that at the combine.
To that point, there are going to be some really talented guys who can't play here because he's looking for a certain makeup, right?
Yeah, that's just part of the business. I mean, you're going to find guys that can play, and there's going to be a whole bunch of guys that can't play. And the key is how do you handle that adversity again, right? And I think Aaron's going to be mindful of that. Some guys are going to hang around for a little while, but ultimately they're going to have to make some huge moves and turnovers in the end.
All right, let's get out of here with this. What did you guys think about the secondary? You got a star back there in Sauce Gardner. The Jets just extended him. Brandon Stevens was all over the place today. He's got the length that AG likes at the cornerback position. The safety spot, Andre Sisco, I think, has really had a strong training camp. You got Tony Adams out there making plays. They like this young Malachi Moore as well, Isaiah Oliver.
23,
Who's that?
33, that corner they drafted.
Yes, 23.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
A.Z. Thomas,
I like-
right. Yeah,
yeah,
A.Z.
like-
Thomas as well.
Yeah.
So what do you think about some of the pieces?
I mean, I think today defense did really well.
Yeah.
I mean, they was, offense didn't have a great day. They went out there and competed, and that's what you need to see as a defense, as a unit, how they play every single play. And they did that. If they can play like that during the season, all season, they're gonna win some football games. I like the way they competed. The corners competed. They was if they made a play on offensively, the receiver was there. I mean, the DB was there.
Yeah.
They made a good throw, good catch. Can't do nothing about it. So, but I'm very encouraged with what I saw defensively.
They should be in a lot of games because, defensively they're going to be sound. They're going to try to ground and pound, it looks like, offensively. And Fields gives you a different dynamic on the ground as well. And they like this young offensive line, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I think the secondary, I think that they have the pieces to be special. They have a lot of size, a lot of competitiveness, and you brought up contracts. I mean, listen, we were talking about that earlier. No one's going to remember how much money Sauce Gardner made here. What legacy he's going to leave here is what he does. How many plays does he make? Brandon Stevens, all of them the same thing. I'm excited because I know they can make those plays. I'm excited to see them make those plays this year.
I think it's minimizing big plays, right? We know the defense is going to play well. The key for me is it's always going to be with the Jets is how does the offense play? Can we keep Fields upright? Can we keep him clean so that he doesn't get injured or get nicked up? What's the depth look like on the offensive line? Who's going to be that other number 2 receiver? Garrett Wilson, we all know how great a talent he is, but who's going to step up and be that number 2 and that number 3 receiver when it comes time to play games for real?
Well, it's great seeing all you guys. And welcome home. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening and watching the Official Jets podcast. Please remember, subscribe, rate, and review. Also, leave us a comment. That was awesome catching up with Ray, Vic, and James, of course. This is a deeply personal deal for not only Aaron Glenn, who has returned as head coach of the New York Jets, but all of his former teammates. Can't wait to see what's next for AG as he starts on his new journey here as head coach of the Green and White.